Hi, everybody, and welcome to New Consciousness Review. I'm Miriam Knight, and our guest today is Meg Blackburn Losey. Dr. Meg is the author of the impressive new book, Touching the Light. She also hosts the Cosmic Particles Internet radio show and is the author of many best-selling books, including The Secret History of Consciousness, The Children of Now, which is about crystalline, indigo, star kids, angels on Earth, and the phenomenon of transitional children. She also wrote The Pyramids of Light, Awakening to Multidimensional Realities, which is very relevant to our discussion today. Meg has served as a consultant to Good Morning America and 2020 and is a regular contributor to many magazines and other publications. And Meg, I know for a fact that you are an amazing keynote speaker and lecturer, and I couldn't be more pleased that you could join us today. Welcome.
Miriam, thanks so much. I tell you, I'm really glad to be back. I love what you're doing on NCR, and I'm kind of humbled and awed by your reviews of the book this month, and just want to thank you because I'm really excited about it.
Well, I'm excited about your book because I think it's one of the most comprehensive guides to energy healing that I've ever read.
Oh, good. I hope so. That was the intention. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and it seemed to me, you know, when I listened to people talking about different modalities, many of which are wonderful, and yet I kept hearing missing pieces. And I thought, gee, you know, I know this stuff. I really need to find a way to share it in a way that people can take it home and digest it, and not just go to a weekend thing and try to learn it all. So I'm really happy the way it came out.
Well, I think you did a great job because you have it so well illustrated, and it's the kind of thing that people can dip into and use as a reference, as well as, you know, a kind of learn-at-home course.
Great.
So tell us how you got involved in etheric healing. Wow.
I've been doing this actually for about close to 15 years now, and basically it started with a very serious, what a lot of us call dark night of the soul, where everything in my life just fell apart. You know, I was screwing up all over the place, as many of us do while we're learning, and I woke up one morning on my friend's couch, just devastated, crying my heart out because I was working out of my car, sleeping on my friend's couch, because everywhere I turned, there were issues, you know, betrayal and all kinds of stuff. And I said, okay, self, we're going to lay here till we get this right. and I decided to look at everything from my perspective, not what everybody else had done or said or whatever, but my part of it. And what I realized was two things. First of all, I didn't like myself very much. And second of all, I realized that I was doing everything based on what I thought everybody else wanted me to do. And because of that, I didn't even know who I was or what I wanted or any of that. And so I looked up and I said, whoever I am, whatever this is, I accept. And boy, those, I got to tell you, Miriam, are the two most powerful words any of us can say if we really mean it. Mm-hmm. And once I was undefended, what happened was my intuitive gifts started to open up vastly, and I call it going through my series of cosmic 2x4s, because what happened was pretty much on a daily basis, my awareness was expanding beyond this reality and into other realities, and I was building up with energy, and I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't find the go trigger. You know, I thought I was going to explode at times, and I just kept trying to figure out what to do about it. Well, I just got this wild hair idea one morning to put on some music and get up and move with it. And instead of trying to make the energy do something, I decided to follow it. And as I did, it started to change in form and shape and all of that, and I was literally seeing it. Well, one day, it popped up in living color, and I literally stood there and I said, gee, you know, this is great, but what the heck am I going to do with this? What's it for? Somebody show me what to do. And I kept begging everybody, every morning, somebody show me what to do. Now, mind you, I was by myself in my home on a mountain, on top of a mountain in North Carolina, so it was kind of insane. But every morning I asked the same question, and gosh, you know what? One morning, this being popped into my reality, was kind of holographic, very shiny, very tall, very beautiful, beautiful being, and he started to move like I was, only a little bit different. And I won't tell you how startled I was and how far I jumped when he showed up, but anyway, he disappeared when I got startled, and I quickly centered myself and got back into that kind of conscious space I'd been in. And sure enough, there he was, patiently waiting for me to show back up, and he hadn't gone anywhere I had. I finally realized later that when I got mental about it, I actually closed the door to being able to interact with him. And he, to make a very long story short, he started to show me how to work with the energy, to transmute it, to change it into different color, shapes, forms. He showed me all about frequencies and how energy is also color and sound and other things, and applies to sacred geometry, which applies to creation and consciousness, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And then one day, and there were a whole series of these guys. They would come and go depending on what I was learning. And one day when I was working with one of them, I had a couple of people on my mind that were having physical problems for different reasons. And before I knew it, all of a sudden there they were floating holographically in front of me, turning very slowly so that I could see the changes in their energy fields that were causing the dysfunctions. And then it kind of went from there and developed into what I now call touching the light. And I literally worked with people for over a year and didn't charge them a dime, and called them a day or two later and said, okay, what's your experience? Mm-hmm. And that's how I learned what was going on. And it was quite fascinating, and still is, because it's always different, it's constantly evolving, and it's not something you can hammer down into a finite modality, because it's really merging with the field of another person and becoming part of them while you do the work. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a very sacred thing, and it's also quite fascinating.
I just want to point out to the readers that you have a very detailed description in the book about how they can recreate the process that you went through. Mm-hmm. One of the words that comes into mind is generous. You have been incredibly generous in putting down it's like a core dump, everything you know, and putting it in such a way that people can really understand it and recreate it themselves.
I hope so.
However, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have to be at the low point in your life to make this work for you? I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story about people just being at a dead end, ready to give up, and then finally quit, literally giving up and saying, okay, show me.
That's an excellent question, Miriam, and it's one I can feel really directly. No, we don't have to go there, but often we force ourselves to go there because we're so darn stubborn with and I really relate it all to our defense system. And what I mean by that is, when our issues are running our show from the background and we're constantly deceiving ourselves, we react from a defensive standpoint rather than an honest one. Okay? Mm-hmm. And when we are in our defenses, we have those doors closed and we can't see anything else. So sometimes it requires us to get a good, a good bunch of change in order for us to be open to something else. But if we have the desire and the intention, no, we don't have to hurt to fly. We can really do any of this just by becoming aware that it even exists. Mm-hmm. Because 90% of anything is having an awareness that it's possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. One of the things that I liked in the early part of your book, you kind of set the scene with your perspective on the roles of alternative and conventional medicine. Mm-hmm. It was just so balanced and well put that I'd like you to recap it for us.
Thank you. in the course of my personal experiences, one of the things that I've observed very keenly is that when people get into metaphysical awareness and kind of start down that road, one of the things that happens is if they get sick, they get into this whole thing about, well, I can heal it myself. I don't need anybody else. I don't have to go to the doctor, because we don't like doctors. So it's a good excuse. Mm-hmm. And what I have seen literally happen over the years is people that, even though they were offered otherwise, get very, very, very sick, or sick for a prolonged time, or even die because they didn't deal medically with a simple thing that could have been cured in a day or two.